CMPRadio.net. It's the station. CMPRadio.net, the voice of Chester.
CMP, that's a crazy microphone. CMPRadio.net, man. It's your boy Uncle P, and I am live here from the Cultivating Mature Positivity Studios. That's right, man. 114 West 5th Street, man. You know we over town doing what we doing, man. Talking to the community, talking to the people, the leaders, and the founders of the community. Not really the founders, but I guess, yeah, the new founders of the community. Because Chester is changing, man. There's so many different ways Chester can evolve into something beautiful. Chester can be what Chester was, as long as we believe. Everything is possible. Today, I have the pleasure of interviewing a candidate for school board, Ms. Tasliym Morales. How are you?
Thank you for having me.
I'm great. I'm glad that we had a conversation last Thursday, I think it was, and we talked about running for a school board and then people running for other offices.
Yes.
And in that conversation, you know, you said something that really let me know that you really care.
Yes.
I'm not going to say what you said, right? But it hit me like, okay, this is a person that cares about the future, about the children, and about the parents as well, right? Because you can't care about the kids if you're not worried about where they go when they leave school, right? What type of zone are they in when they leave school? So should it be parents first? Now we have no other choice. We have to put our parents first, right? So that we can put the kids first.
Yes.
So, how are you doing today?
I'm good. Happy to be here again. You know, I was first here. I announced my candidacy for school board here on Adelaide Show, and so I'm really happy to be able to come back and
do what you do.
Do what I do.
and talk about. Calm down. It's okay.
Yes.
You want a water or something? Let me get you a water.
No, I'm good.
You good? I should have offered that. I should have offered that to you before I started. But yeah. So who is Tasliym Morales?
Before anything, Tasliym Morales is a woman, a black woman after that, and a black Muslim woman after that. So all of those things are priorities to why education is very important to me. As a woman, it's important to me. As a black woman, it's even more important to me. And my religion commands that I be an educated woman. So I value education. I'm a mother. I've instilled educational values in my children. My mother instilled educational values in me. And I just feel like and when I say education, I don't mean just the education that you get inside of a school, because I'm a very firm believer that 4 walls doesn't really give you an education. It gives you, you know, what someone has sat inside of a room and said, these are the things you need to learn in order to progress in this society. But it is not a holistic way of seeing the world. You can only see the world by being in the world.
Absolutely.
So I believe that our education is only as good as how much of the world we're exposed to. And fortunately enough, I haven't seen the world, but I've been in situations where I've been able to live amongst people who've seen the world. And I've been able to, engage with people who do not look like me, who do not think like me, who do not operate like me. And I've been able to engage, and I'm in a space where it's safe enough for me to show them who I am and accept who they are, and use those experiences to further myself mentally in the way that I make decisions. So education doesn't begin in the classroom. It shouldn't end in the classroom. And I feel like right now we are in a space where we feel like everything should happen in the classroom. Right. And it cannot and should not happen inside of a classroom or be limited to a classroom.
Absolutely. The world is so vast, so large, right? If you limit children to just a classroom, you're limiting their capabilities, right? So they have to have worldly experience.
Yes.
They have to learn how to function in and out of the classroom. So that is key. The school board is under receivership.
Yes.
With the school board being under receivership, maybe people in the city of Chester feel as though the school board doesn't do anything. What can the school board do, and what should they do in the community?
I don't even think a lot of people knew the school board was under receivership. I think here in Chester, Pennsylvania, unfortunately, let me preface by saying this. I'm a very open and candid person. I don't know any other way to be. So I don't want anyone to take my responses as generalized responses, but it is my experience that I've experienced over the last 12 years, being actively engaged in parent engagement so that the parents can be better for the children, is that we don't actively seek out the right information. So yes, the school board is in receivership. I'm not sure everyone knows that the school board is in receivership, but I will hope that as many times as I've said it, as I've been running in this campaign, that now everyone is aware that the school board is in receivership. As a result of the school board being in receivership, our school board does not have the traditional authorities that a school board would have. The school board cannot hire, they can't fire. Normally a school board would do things such as picking books for curriculum, all of those things that are necessary to operate a school board, a school district on a daily basis. Our school board doesn't have that authority. Our school board can only levy and collect taxes at the moment. In the past, they've had even less of a visibility because of the receivers that we've had in position. Right now, we do have a receiver that allows the school board to engage a little bit more in the decision making, so that's a plus. But I don't feel like even that permission is used as to the best of the ability from the school board, and that's just my personal opinion. Okay. Even without the authority, there are things that a school board can do. It would be almost the same as if, the receiver is, the city receiver wins an appeals court, right? If he's allowed to take away the governing authority of our city council, the city council still has a role to play. And that right now, that's how the school board is. We still should serve as servant leaders to our constituents. There are ways that we can be vocal inside and outside of the boardroom. There are ways that we can challenge establishments. There are ways that we can lobby for our authority back. And so while we may not have authority, there are still ways that we can be of service to the community. And I just don't feel like that happens enough. I'm not going to say that it doesn't happen at all. I don't feel like it happens enough. And when it happens, I don't feel like it's an aggressive push. And so my desire is to be aggressive with that push, because I would want nothing more for the school board to be the entity that's hiring the people that come in to teach our children, or that's hiring the leaders that come in to lead our school district. I feel like it's very important that the school board has that authority, if no other authority, because it all falls back on the school board anyway. Even if people think the receiver is, even if they didn't know even if they know we're under receivership, if something goes wrong, no one is going to say it was the receiver's fault. People are still want to say, oh, well, our school board ain't shit. That's what they're going to say. Right. But the reality of it is, like...
I'm glad you cursed before I did.
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
You know, I got in trouble because I accidentally cussed during the forum, and it was not on purpose. It's just sometimes I'm a very educated woman, but I'm also I don't like to have to be in that space all the time because it takes a lot for me to get in that space. Absolutely. Yes, and so I
don't worry about it.
Yes, okay.
All right, CMPRadio.net is a cursing radio station. Right. But you know, we are able to be held accountable.
Yes.
For the things that we say.
Yes.
We want the things that we say to affect our children positively. Yes. Right.
And I don't feel like we hold the school board as accountable as we can hold them.
No, I mean, because I say I'm 43. Mm-hmm. I graduated Chester High in 1997. So let's go back to 1990. Let's say that's 50 years old. So let's say a 50-year-old man till now doesn't respect the school board because they didn't do anything for him when he was in school.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So we have 50-year-olds, grown men at 50-year-old that do not respect the school board because the school board did not rock out for him the way they should have.
Yes.
And on down. And we can go all the way down to 30. We can go down to 20. We can go down to my daughters. You know what I mean? And they can say the same thing. I didn't care about that. I wasn't worried about that. I was just in the high school last year, and the kids were like, well, I don't like the superintendent. I was like, do you know the superintendent? They was like, no. I said, why don't you know the superintendent? Why aren't you asking the teachers to set up a meeting with the superintendent so you can get to know him? Because the community knows him a little bit. Do you know who the receiver is? Now, who's the receiver? And this is before. No, was it before? No, it was, all right. Nafis was already in.
Yes.
I was like, do you know who the receiver is? Nah, we don't know. So why don't y'all know all of this stuff? I don't know. Do your parents know the receiver? Do the parents know the superintendent? I don't know. Well, why don't you have these conversations when you go home? So again, the parent engagement is, and we're going to talk about that in a couple of minutes, right? But I feel like, so you said the only responsibility for the school board is to levy taxes.
Yes. So anything that you see them doing in excess of that, you know, it is their volunteerism of the position, because again, it's not a paid position. Right. So school boards in Pennsylvania are not paid.
Not paid.
No matter what district you sit in.
So you need to have another job.
Yes, they're not a paid position.
Right.
And so even the smallest thing that's being done is being done with no financial ask by the school board. So I think it's worth noting that even if you think they're not doing enough, even the little bit as just showing up to the board meetings and being present there for the school board is being done at, you know, without any financial payment.
Right.
But I feel like it's important for the school board to be held accountable. Now, we'll say, you know, the parents don't come out to the school board meetings and things like that. And this is true, but there are ways to meet the parents where they are, right? I always say if the plan to bring them to you is not working, then you have to plan to go to them. So we know that homecoming is a very big season in Chester, Pennsylvania. So if you have to get all the most important information that you need to get out about the school district in that time frame, like at the football game, or announce it at the actual homecoming, you know.
You do know there's a radio station, right? Right. You can come to the radio station.
Oh, no, I'm saying like the board itself.
I'm saying the board itself can then appoint someone to come up here, two people to come up here and talk about what's happening.
Yes.
So this is the reason the radio station was founded, right? There was so much non-communication in the authorities' position.
Yeah.
Why aren't you speaking to the public? I don't need to tell them anything. Or why don't you come out and talk to the public? Oh, they don't need to know what I'm doing. Why the sheet? Why you put the sheet up?
Yeah.
Right? And you're standing behind it, like, and the only time you come out from behind it is during election season. Yeah. And it's a silly season. So if you're not with me, you against me. And if you're not for me, you against me. But I'm just not for what you're about. Yeah. That doesn't mean I'm against you. I think you're a hell of a person. Yeah. But I'm looking at the facts of the situation, right? Before I vote for anybody, I'm going to look and say, all right, how do they stand up against each other?
Yes.
Who's a better person? right? As far as running a city, as far as running a school board, as far as sitting on a bench, as far as sitting over there in the corner behind someone that's doing something else.
Yeah.
What type of person are you?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Are you true to your public servant position? Are you truly a public servant, or are you just popular?
Yeah.
Because popular people.
That's important. So that stopped me from running for a while, right? And people was like, "Oh well, Tasliym, I feel like you're." When I say popular, I mean popular in the sense that, you know, I don't frequent the dances and the outings and the parties and stuff,
the clubs, the bars,
because it's just not. I've never been. I have anxiety about those type of spaces because I don't trust people like that, right? But if you look at my actual work product, right, like I've done the work. Like my name is on plenty of plans that are over at Chester Upland School District. I implemented parent engagement over at the Chester Charter School for the Arts. Like it was a beautiful program. Like took parents and students to Washington, the Valley Against Gun Violence. I served as the co-regional directors for Standing Against Peace and Justice when Miss Nicole Cogdale was the director. And we had the Chester chapter under Miss Dorothy Johnson Spates. Like if you Google my name, it's in several newspapers for several different things. You might got to Google it under Muhammad or Goodman, whichever. You know, my name changed 3 times. So I'm like, but Tasliym stays the same. So just Google Tasliym or whatever. So it was kind of, to me, I was like, I'm not sitting here going to be, you know, badgered about who I am, because in my mind, I'm like, if you in a school district with your kids, you should know who I am.
You should know who you are.
But I also understand, you know, that everybody is not operating at that level. So I am capable of
meeting them where they're at.
Exactly. And it's not a problem for me to meet somebody where they at, because I pride myself on being able to learn from everybody that's around me. And I feel like if I'm the most intelligent person in the room, I need to get out of the room, because you can't possibly be in a room where no one can tell you anything, because if no one can tell you anything, you can't grow. Right? So, and I feel like that's where we are right now in Chester, is everybody feels like they are the smartest one in the room, or they're only putting themselves in rooms where they are the smartest one in the room. And the issue is you're not really that smart, but because you're in a room with people who are not as smart as you are, or who are not willing to tell you that you're not as smart as you are, you get the result that you get. So when we are, you know, chastising our school district and saying, you know, we don't have this, or our school district is this, you don't even know who's sitting on your school board right now.
Can't name them.
There's 9 people on the school board right now.
Can't name them.
And I like this running for this position, it was like I had to beg people to ask me why I wanted to run for school board. Every forum was just, you know, council member and mayor. Like there's not 6 people running for 5 seats. Like these seats matter. We're not always going to be in receivership. Don't you want somebody that's going to be there that knows how to hire, that has human resource background, that can look at a budget, that can manage a budget, that cares that your children are in the school district for 8 to 7 hours out of the day? Like even with the teachers, we send our children to school, and there are parents who never meet their child's teacher. You are comfortable with your child being with someone that you have never met for 7 to 8 hours out of the day. And then the minute something goes wrong, that's the only time that you go up there. But you haven't even established a relationship with this person to know who they are, how they're engaging with your child, and how your child is engaging with this teacher. You haven't created that relationship.
I'm coming up here because I have an issue. I'm coming up here because I have a problem.
Not I'm coming up here because thank you for, you know, teaching my child. Thank you. It's never a thank you first.
Teacher Appreciation Day was a big thing in every student. But when I was educated at Holy Ghost. I wasn't in Chester Upland School District. I went to Catholic school K through 8th grade. 9th grade, I got a scholarship to Malvern. After I'd already been in the academy, right? 75% paid tuition they offered. My mom said, no, you're going to Chester High. I didn't like it, so I became the person running around the halls and causing as much mischief as I possibly could. There were teachers that cared about me, right? Miss Wright, the chemistry teacher, she was one of them, right? She grabbed me by my collar, her and Reverend Cheryl, and they said, no, She's like, I like you in my class. I see that you like chemistry.
Yeah.
You know,
Yes.
come into the class, right? She saved me, literally, right? I didn't know what I was supposed to do. I didn't know where I was. Mr. McDowell was another person. He said, you're a leader, but you're always following people. And for as long as you follow people, you're going to be the first one to die. I said, what do you mean? I'm not dying. What are you talking about? Like, you're going to be the first one to die because you're following people. You're not a leader. Act as a leader.
Yeah.
When we lose people that care about our children as much as they cared about me, when we don't have those people in the school district anymore and we don't have them on the school board, we lose a lot.
Yes.
We lose hope for our children. We lose love for our children. And then we get parents that want to fight, want to come to the school district, have a problem, have an issue, and always want to argue, and they never come to listen. Because as a parent, and everybody gets mad at me because they say I'm sitting on a fence. But as a parent, I'm supposed to sit on that fence.
Yeah.
I got my children's teachers on this side and my children on this side. Do I care about my children? Absolutely. But I know what they can do when I turn my back.
Yes. Yes.
Just like I know what they can do when I turn my back on them.
Yes.
So I have to look at both of them and say, all right, call me up. You said my son's disrespectful. How is my son disrespectful? And son, why were you disrespectful? If they saying you were disrespectful, how are you disrespectful?
Yeah.
Now explain your story. So it's a lot of conversation that has to go up into that situation, and a lot of people are not capable.
Well, you know what?
of
For
having
me,
that conversation.
For me, I've never, and I learned this from my mother. My mother used to always say, if something happened, you have to come to me and tell me the full story.
Absolutely.
So that I can be able to go in and advocate for you correctly.
That's it.
Right? But my mother never took our side in front of the teacher. Never. Now, once we got inside of the car,
was different.
she would do that.
Right.
But she never wanted to give us a reason to be disrespectful to a parent, another adult, or to think we had any leverage
Right.
up on that
Call
adult.
my
Now,
mama, I don't care.
yeah, now when we were not around, I'm sure there was a second call that was made,
Right.
and that was handled,
Right.
right? I do the same thing for I will not go back and forth with a teacher in front of my child. When I'm in front of my child, it's all the respect for the teacher, because I need my child to understand that you don't get, it's like when you live with your mother and your father and you'll go back and forth between them, right? You cannot allow your children to have that gap where they know, oh yeah, I'm gonna just call my mama up here and such. But as a parent, you stand with the adult unless physical harm or any, like, use common sense.
Right.
There are times when that doesn't work.
It doesn't add up.
But because my child came home and said the teacher looked at me the wrong way, don't mean that I come up to the school and pour hell down onto the teacher.
Right.
Because that's just not how it worked. And then you got the teacher feeling less than, the student feeling like they got one up, the parent ain't there for another 5 months, and now you just got this whole situation that's just a toxic environment for everybody that's involved, right? So I feel like it's very important our children see us, like, even if they don't act like they hear us, they see everything we do. If we go into a room already ruffled up and because their energy is transferring to them. It is. And I had to learn this, like, in my personal life. Like, I'm not a perfect person, but what I'm perfect at is education. And I'm perfect at advocating for education. And I'm perfect at using my experiences as leverage to help somebody else through a situation. And I just feel like, and honestly, we don't give parents enough grace. I work from a point of grace. I know that everybody is waking up with heavy stuff on them every single day, every day. But what you're waking up with can't be the thing that stops you from still doing what you have to do, right? Because we're waking up with something can't mean that we neglect our children's well-being. It can't, because once that neglect builds up over time, you lose the opportunity to gain that control back, right? And right now, I just feel like everything is out of control. I feel like we have too many adult conversations around our children.
We do.
I feel like our children aren't children. So then we get mad at them for not being children, but
Absolutely.
we cause them and allow them to do things that children shouldn't have to do.
Yeah.
And so the children don't act like children because they're not being treated like children. And I want to be able to create spaces even if it's in school, for the children to just be children. For children not to have to come to school and hear parents or adults talking about their school is the worst or this school is better or this, all of these things that children unfortunately hear because the adults don't have the wherewithal to say, oh, we shouldn't have this conversation in the middle of the hallway. You know what I'm saying? So we can't blame our children because they're a direct product of us for the most part. They're
just repeating what they say. So this is a world of repetition. There's nothing new under the sun. Unless you can invent a different way to do something just slightly, then it becomes new. But other than that, we're a world of repetition. We wake up the way our parents woke up. We move the way our parents moved.
Yes.
So if your child is disrespectful, 9 times out of 10, the only person you can look at is yourself and say, oh, I'm disrespectful.
Yeah.
That's why my kid is this way, right? So it's all about repetition. I got a question. What skills and experience do you have that you believe would be beneficial to you as a school board member?
So I am very objective, sometimes too objective, but I pride myself on being able to see everybody's side of whatever the conversation is that we're in. And even if it may differ from what my opinion is on a situation, I am at times willing to, what is it called? Succumb to the mass, to the majority, if it's for the betterment of it. Now, if it's not for the betterment, I'm not budging. Because it's what I know is what I know. Now, I will not go into a room and say I know everything. But if I come inside of a room, it's because I'm fit to be in that room. It's because I've done the research, I've lived the experience, I've done the work. So I'll never speak on something that I don't have, full knowledge of. The other skills that I have, and I want to speak on this because I see a lot of people this election throwing this around. Your degrees don't mean nothing. Education and degrees mean a lot, okay? It gives you that little one-up. So like if you're in a room and everybody is talking and you can't get people to come to a consensus, my degree, in coaching and change management has allowed me to understand ways to bring that situation down. Yeah. So let's not take away the fact that people have went to school, because this seems to be a universal thing that's happening, in the job market and everything. Stop penalizing people for going to school because that's what we were told was the way to go. So we did that. Right. And those degrees have afforded me opportunities to be in rooms and spaces with people so that I can actually hear how people think and feel about people that look like me, because most of the time I'm the only me in some of these spaces. So I bring that knowledge in every other room that I sit in. Also, I am a leader by birth. I'm my mother's first child. I'm a nurturer. I'm a protector of people. And I'm very much not afraid to speak on behalf of other people. Now, I may have a problem when it comes to speaking up for myself at times, but I have no problem when it comes to speaking up for people who I feel are vulnerable or people who I feel like don't have the capacity to speak or say what they're feeling at the time, right? It's just very easy for me. And it's just something I've always done. Like, education is important to me. Like, I keep hearing people say the babies can't read, but what are you doing about the babies not being able to read?
It's not just the babies, there's some grown folks.
Well, that's because these children, the adults were once children who could not read. And so the children just go, I don't know if you've seen the Annie, the Black Annie, right? And every time she went to do her presentation, she wanted to either sing about it or perform. She never wanted to write the paper. Right. And then you find out at the end of the movie that she couldn't read. Right. So it's a lot of children that are making their way through because they're being allowed, the space to curve around the issue. And we're accepting of that. But there's no reason why someone should not graduate without being able to read, because if you can't understand the language of the land or the law of the land, or if you are, tied to someone else's interpretation of what's going on, that's how you get people enslaved for 400 years who used to be doctors and scientists and lawyers, where they're coming from. This is how you enslave people, because you are dependent upon somebody else's interpretation of what's going on at the moment or what this says. I could be reading something to you and it says, go stop on a red light. But if you don't, but if that's what it say, and I tell you it's saying go, that red light means go, you're going to go every single time, and you're going to wonder every single time why you're getting pulled over by the police. Because you're supposed to really be stopping at the red light, but you can't read enough to know I'm supposed to stop and not go. And people will use that illiteracy to their advantage.
Yes, they will.
You know, so
we set ourselves, I say it without saying it, but we set ourselves up for failure. What we accept, what we deal with, and what we call, oh, that's just what I do, is not approved in other societies.
yes,
In other cultures.
it's not.
So when we do things that are not approved in other cultures and other society, they look at us like, yeah, that's why they're in the predicament they're in right now. Chester is a great city. Chester is full of people that love, people that care. Chester is family for real.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, we're just missing about every other sixth person is your cousin.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So it's like, wow, like Chester, my family is big. My city is huge. It's a big situation. Why are we so left behind? And it's because they put things in place to trap us, and then it traps the next generation automatically. Right? If you're a child and you're born into captivity, all you know is captivity.
Yes.
So when your parents just, all right, we're not worried about all that stuff. We're just gonna worry about this stuff. Then that's all you'll worry about. Then you'll stop worrying about that stuff and worry about, and it just gets worse and worse as the generations go on. Like I said, for the last 50 years, at least 50 years, the school district has been failing our students.
Yeah,
and failing the parents.
almost at a rate where, you know, it's plausible that they could be sued. Like, because this is not an effective education.
No, it's not.
It's not an effective education.
not.
And, you know, the question keeps coming up to me. Actually, I was told to be quiet about the situation. The minute that I said it out of my mouth was that I was not, one of my things was to bring more children back into the school district, right? And don't take this no kind of way. The children are money.
Right.
The children are they are the currency that runs this school board, this school district. For every child that is outside of the public school district, that is inside of any other type of situation that is not a private school where your money is paying for that, removes money from the school district.
Absolutely.
So when you say, oh, well, why Chester Community Charter School got all these programs, and because they have the money that's following that child. That's why. But the thing is, you are not holding them as accountable as you hold the school district. When something go wrong at the school district, everything is just the worst. There's no second chance. There's no nothing. Something go wrong at the charter school, you'll give them 3, 4, 5 times to get it right. And I don't understand why we have that mentality. I don't understand why the public school here, you know, everything is see pride until it comes to putting your children in the public school district. Now, I'm not going to say that either one of the entities are the best, but what I will say is if we on this home come first type of situation, then the children should be in the public school district. Imagine if every parent for a year just decided to say, we're going to put our babies back in the school district and see what the change would be.
So they would first need to have new schools. They don't have any elementary schools.
Well, we do have elementary.
We have one.
No. We have Coosa, which is an elementary school.
That's a building that should be dilapidated.
But we have
torn
it.
down,
But we have it.
right?
We have Main Street, which is an elementary school.
Another school
You
that should be
have
torn
Stetzer.
down. Right.
Well, all of them need to be redone.
Yes, they need to be redone.
But the point of the matter is, if we had the money, it's like parents have to know for every child that you have, you're holding at least $25,000. Just look at them as $25,000 minimum, right? Would you just put $25,000 in any bank or any stock or anything if you didn't think that you were going to get a full return on that investment? And I'm not talking about somebody coming to you and showing you like this list of, oh, we've sold this and we've sold that, and they don't have no proof behind it, and then you find out you become part of a Ponzi scheme and you done lost all your money. Because at this point, this is how I see Chester Community Charter School. I'm gonna call the charter school out because it's not every charter school that's operating here. That is how I see that charter school. And it's not that I'm completely against charter schools. I'm against the division that it's causing in the city. there's a way to operate in a city as a charter school respectfully. If you look at Chester Charter School for the Arts, I worked there. They intentionally capped their enrollment on their own. No one had to tell them to do it. They did it on their own.
Why did they do it?
Because they didn't want to impede upon the district's ability to be able to operate financially. Widener Charter School just gave the whole school back because it's hurting the school district. But then you have this other school that's growing at an exponential rate. We don't even have enough children for all the schools that they're building. So you have to ask yourself, who's inside the schools? Charter schools have an advantage that the public school doesn't have. They can pull from anywhere in the state. And wherever that child is coming from, the home district has to pay for that child. Right. So it's of no consequence for the charter school to put a cap on itself because you have the ability to pull from other sources. When a district loses a student, they don't have a way to make up that money. It used to be that the state would give a reimbursement to school districts to help with the tuition that was going toward children that are in charter schools. That does not happen anymore. So when you see that your property taxes and you're like, oh, well, the property taxes should be doing more of this, nothing is working here because we don't have a hold on the amount of students. We need more than half of our students to be inside of the public school, not the other way around. And I feel like if you really had the best interest of the children at heart, you would be able to sit at a table and work that out, as adults.
Well,
and
if the person running the school understands it's about money,
mm-hmm.
and the parents now understand that their children is worth $25,000
minimum,
I think that opens up the conversation.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, mm-hmm. This is your child, and he's worth $25,000 every school year. Mm-hmm. You're paying.
No, every month.
Every month?
Every month.
Hold on, stop. I don't even want to get into that. Let's go back into why you're
mm-hmm.
running. What distinguishes you from other candidates?
I think what distinguished me from other candidates is just my willingness to do the work, right? A lot of when we say change comes with work. And a lot of people don't have capacity to do the work. Then you have the group of people that don't want to do the work because they're complacent with how things are at current. I don't have a problem with doing the work. I am solely focused on educating. There's been so many other things that's been going on in this city that I just wanted to jump into, right? And I have to physically restrain myself to tell myself to just stay focused on education in the school district right now because I'll find myself all over the place. I really just want the school board to be a functioning entity. I do. I appreciate Nasir for the manner in which he engages with the school board. I really do. Because I know that he does not have to. But I also don't want a receiver anymore. I don't. And, a lot of people are not just going to say that out loud, but I'm saying it out loud because I need the parents to know that you have the ability in a public school district to control to an extent what happens in that school district. Like, you don't really have that ability inside of a public school, inside of a private school or in a charter school. And the public school exists for community as opposed to be an extension of the family unit. It's better when the first grade teacher is getting all of the children in the city. The second grade teacher is getting, because this is how you learn the children. If the children are starting off in one school and then going to another school because they don't want them in that school, and you know what I'm saying? Like, it creates a break in the flow of us learning one another. We can't learn each other. We go to basketball games and we fighting against each other instead of us being the team. We're not a team. There's no team here in the school district. If you have on a red shirt for school, you're looked at this way. If you have on a blue shirt, you looked at this way. Chester Upland School District, half the children don't even wear a color shirt, so we don't know who's the students and who's not the students. So there's no functionality. It's so dysfunctional. And my desire is to just bring a level of functionality to it at whatever capacity I can bring it. I can't promise much because it's all a mess.
It is.
But I can promise that if I'm in a room, the voice of the parent will be in the room. I can promise that if I'm inside of a room, the students will be inside of the room. I can promise that whatever decisions are made inside of rooms where I'm not privileged to give you the information that's in the room, that you can understand that no decision will happen in there without me being vocal if the decision is not right. So that's what I can offer as a candidate. You know, some people say, how can you do the job better? It's not about doing the job better, it's doing it differently. Because everybody will say that they're the best person to do the job better, but you may not be. I might not do anything better except just be a different voice. Right. But that's one thing that's different. Absolutely. Right? So that, and I want parents to feel like they can engage. When I went over to the senior citizen building, they didn't feel like they were allowed to be inside of the school board meetings. And I'm like, why would you feel like you're not allowed to be in the school board meetings? Like, you can walk into any board meeting that you want to walk into. Right. But for some reason, they didn't feel like they had that authority to just be inside the meeting.
I don't have any kids in the school. That doesn't mean anything. And
they want to be there. That's the part. They want to be there. So I also want to create that relationship so that our elders know, no, we really still need your voice, and your voice is valuable. Absolutely. Right? So I am a bridger. I'm a community bridger. Like, I like to be able to get the people that need to be in a space in the same space and speak, right? And if that's the only thing that I can bring right now, I feel like that's something very good to bring to this dynamic. Right. And I just want to fight really, really hard for us to have our authority back as a school board. And I want people to respect the school board elected officers. That's what I want, because it's disrespectful how this it's so disrespectful.
It's not disrespectful. I don't think it's disrespectful. I think it's just is lacking in intelligence and knowing what a school board is, and
it's disrespectful.
And let's say the previous administration of school board members for the last 20-something years have not been in the community.
But you want me to tell you why I say it's disrespectful? Because the people that organize the forums, right, the people that are in elected positions already, right, whether the community knows or not that there are school board members running, you know. So if you have a forum, don't just put the mayor and the city council. Ask anybody from the school board if they want to participate. Now, everybody may not want to participate because they've just been comfortable with just getting the signatures and going on the ballot, and that's fine for them. But there may be other people like myself who would like to go in front of the community and explain why they're running for a position or what they can offer. So that's why I say it's disrespectful, because anybody that's running in the election knows that these 6 people are running for this position. Anybody that's creating forums, you know that the school board is running. So I was a little upset with the NAACP too.
I don't want you to be upset.
But I am. I'm going to tell you why.
Because listen to this real quick. You are the first school board member to ever, outside of Miss McLaren, to ever walk into cmpradio.net. The first. You know what I'm saying? Like, so that's not disrespect on my behalf, because I fought for the school board.
No, not on your behalf.
I've interviewed people. I've talked about when we were trying to figure out the rightful funding. I have tried. I fight for the school district. I fight for the school board. I fight for the city. Wherever you need me at, that's where I'm going to show up.
But you're one person.
I'm just one person, but I'm cmpradio.net as well. We have 11,000 followers, right? We have 7,000 people that like the page. So I'm not just one person. I'm whoever likes the page. No.
When I say one person and I say the disrespectful aspect of this is, every year you know that either 5 people or 4 people is running from the school board. Right. It is not acceptable that that the community has been accepting the fact that people just pop up on a ballot. Absolutely. And you go in and vote. Yeah. That's the disrespectful part. Not even just to me as a candidate, but to you as a community member. You should feel disrespected that someone just feels the bare minimum that they have to do is to get signatures and go on a ballot. Like, that should not be acceptable at all.
That's typically, and I understand your disrespect. I understand why you see it as disrespectful. But that's typically how it works here. And
that's very sad. And I've seen that. Right? And it's very, very sad.
And until someone comes and changes it, we'll get the same thing. So if you're trying to change it change it. If you're real about it, be real about it.
Oh, we were. That's why we had a candidate forum over at the Cat Center.
Right.
So,
Absolutely. So I just, it's hard to see change before anybody else. Right? That's a challenge. It's a vision. So to see change and to see hope and to see love and to see positivity before anyone else, it's challenging because when you start it, no one's going to believe you.
Yeah.
No one's going to believe that they can change anything. No one's going to think that it's possible to change anything. So I thank you.
Thank you.
You feel me? And
Yes.
and I want you to understand how important the school board is, right? It is the increasing of our children. It is giving more to generations that are in back of us, and we should be giving more to them.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It is giving hope, right? And dream fulfilling obligations to our children. And I thank you for your service, right? For everything that you've done for CCSA, for Chester Upland School District, right? And I want you to keep on doing it. But I have one more question. Why you and why now?
Well, why now is because, like I said, I've been doing the work to a certain extent, right? But in order to continue to make external change, you have to have internal change too. And I need to be inside of those rooms where those decisions are being made. Like, I really need to be there. And I know it's come up, a couple of times, like, when you're in certain rooms, you can't get this information. It's not about giving the information out. It's about making sure that every voice and every side of that decision is heard when you're inside of that room. And I feel like sometimes that piece is missing. You don't have a holistic group making the decisions that eventually make it to the external group. So I don't want to just be the external change. I want to be internal change as well. And so that's why the now, because I can continue to be external change all day. And, external change will only get you so far. So that's why now. Why me is because I can walk up to someone today and not like them at all. And you can be sure that if your child was standing next to me anywhere, that your child is safe. You can be sure that if I was to see you anywhere, that you're safe. I'm not someone that cannot have a disagreement with someone and still care about them or love on them as a community, So even though some people have taken some shots at me or whatever, you still want to end up working with me, God willing, because, I'm hoping that I get on this board, and I'm hoping that just by my presence on the board, that even the mentality of the people around me will change, because they'll see the same hope and vision that I have. I would love to wake up one school year on the first day of school and just see the streets flooded with orange uniform shirts, and those are our children, because the babies then ended up coming back into the district, right? I would love to. That makes me happy to know that can happen, and I want to be part of helping make that happen.
We got to build new schools.
Yeah, we do.
We do.
But
schools.
you need money to do that.
Hey, man, they can find some money somewhere, man. They can.
And that was part of our fair funding acts when we went to Harrisburg, like the children.
We need schools like Radnor. We need schools like Ridley. We need new schools, bro. Like Ridley's not using their old high school. We need a new high school built. It can be built right next to where the old high school is built, right? And then once it's built, you can tear down the old high school, which was an old hospital, which was here since So you understand what I'm saying? Like, there's so much that should change.
And the act has been given. And so I would like for the community, June 1st, we have all of those legislators and advocates come into the CAT Center. And I would like for the community to come out and explain to them too, because here we go. We can't all go to Harrisburg. So Harrisburg will be at the CAT Center. Right. So you can come and you can bring your children and tell them what you need. Like, this is only about PA fair funding on June 1st, so that you can tell the people that sit there and have to vote on this budget why the money is necessary for you and your children in your community. Absolutely. Right? So do not this is another thing. I try to remove excuses. So if you tell me the reason why you can't come somewhere is because it's too early in the morning, then it'll be at night. If you don't come at night, then you can't say that someone didn't hear you, right? So I try to remove excuses. I'm a person that I don't like to hear excuses because my mother did not allow me to make excuses. So when I hear excuses, I try to create barriers to those excuses, right? So that's what I'm offering up. And the thing is, whether I get on the school board or not, I'm still going to do it, but it's just in a limited capacity.
Right.
So I want to see Chester before I ride off into the sunset on the beach. I want to see Chester be in a space where they don't have to worry about every other 4 or 5 years if the school going to be charterized or if we're going to have enough money or stuff like that. I just want us to come out of that circle.
I mean, right now we're still operating with old things, and old things run out of time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And we get some new buildings. We got, we got Widener's building, right? We got that. We got the building across the street from Widener.
Which I think would make really good office space. I know but I think that we can make some revenue up off of there. But that's my 2 cents into.
For me, it's not about office space. It's about the kids. So the office space could go into, and it's on the first floor of the high school now. Keep it there. Stay there. If y'all working and making all the money for the job that y'all doing, why you need to be in a nice building with AC and all this? These kids need all that stuff.
I mean, they do, but you can't fit all the children in that building.
So you put a certain grade over there, right? Just like other schools do it. Other schools have certain grades that go in certain buildings. So
see, this is the part where people ask for things, but they don't know the whole circumstance behind it, right? So, yes, the children have to be places, but you also have to have a staff that's willing to stay in a space in order to keep, the operations and things moving so that eventually the children can have what they need. So if you have a staff and you can't even hire people in because of where their working conditions when they're working a certain place, then how are you going to hold staff, right? When you have people that are coming in from the outside that you need to hold business meetings with and things like that, like you have to present. Certain things are about presentation. It's all about presentation. And in order for us to even sometimes get to the next level, the first level has to be presentable. Right. If our staff and our receiver and our superintendent and them can't even have a professional office space for a senator or a legislator to walk into, the presentation is not there. When they go into the high school at the bottom level, I don't feel like they should be inside there. I have not seen many schools where the administration operates out of the high school. The administration building is a separate entity because it's not supposed to be devoted specifically to the high school. It's supposed to oversee the entirety of the district. And every school district that I've had the opportunity of operating in here in New York and Virginia, the school district has its own administrative building. They had their own administrative building before they went over to the high school.
And they sold it. Why?
I'm not sure why they sold it.
It was an old building and no one wanted to be in it. These are grown adults. And you're talking about you're going to send kids that are going there to learn in old buildings, but you sell the building that you were in that was fine. Mm-hmm. You sold that building because it was old. Because the AC didn't work, because it got hot or it got cold in the building.
I know that as an employee, I want to be comfortable. And I know that the students need to be comfortable too, but I know that you can't operate daily without employees and staff. The children want to keep coming to school. The children are going to come to school, whether we have enough teachers or not. They're still going to come to school. But you can't.
Students are not going to learn anything.
They're not going to learn, but they'll still be there. So you have to have staff. Staff is very important.
So if the kids don't learn anything, that kind of wipes out the staff. Because now you're saying the staff is incapable of teaching.
No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is if you don't create a comfortable space for your staff, you won't have staff. The children are going to show up regardless because it's mandatory for them to show up to school. Now, whether they are learning inside of that environment requires proper staffing. So if the staff is not comfortable in the environment in whichever capacity they're functioning, you're not going to keep the staff. It's like the level, level impacts the next.
Right. So what is the most important level in this situation right now?
Right now, for me, in my opinion, again, this is my opinion, right, the most important level is the leadership. I don't feel like, am I allowed?
Yeah.
I don't feel like we have the level of leadership that we need in this type of environment. We need leadership that has experience and turnaround capacity, even though we're not in a turnaround situation. I feel like we are in a turnaround capacity, and I feel like all of leadership, including teachers, the person working in the gym, needs to have some type of, mental capacity around turnaround to know that we're not in a regular situation, right? I feel like every year people need to feel like their job is on the line so that they know what I do this year caused me to not have a job next year, and that they work from that space. Because right now I just feel like everyone's like, oh, well, we don't have enough teachers anyway, so they're not going to get rid of me because we don't have enough. That is not the right way to operate from, because it means that you could come to school and do the bare minimum, but because we have a staffing issue, we're not going to come to you and say, oh, we're getting rid of you right now, because we can't afford to do that. Right. Everyone has to feel like their foot is to the fire. Mm-hmm. And I feel like if people work from that capacity, eventually our children will have a better product, because they'll see the stability in the staff. They'll see that the staff, all of the staff, not a few teachers here, not a few people in leadership here, not everyone has to be dedicated to what's going on. You know what I'm saying? And the needs and the desire to turn the school district around. Like I said, it's not everybody, but when there are a few, it makes it look like it's everybody. If you have like some grapes and some mold, on one of the grapes, you just want to throw the whole thing away.
Absolutely.
Right? So if you have 5 good teachers out of 300 teachers, that's not good enough.
That's not.
If you have 2 good people in leadership out of a staff of 50, that's not good enough, because those 2 people can't do anything. Mm-mm. Those 5 teachers are not touching all of the students. Absolutely. So to me, the most important priority is staffing. And unfortunately, most staffing happens at the school board level, but we don't really have, like if you look at other school boards, right? They fight hard. Like even when they bring in a superintendent, we're not paying them that. We're not doing it. Like they go at it over these positions. Like it's the craziest thing to me, because everywhere else the school board position is so like bigger than the mayoral elections. Like we're not. No. Did I name swiping and all this stuff?
I mean, it was like that. The school board was the position that selected the next mayor.
Okay. Well, that's how I feel like in other school districts right now.
And then the way it works is they realized it and they capped it. They cut it off, right? So now the school board, it can still have that same power. But if we're not moving for our children, and the only people we're moving for is impressing someone with the office space that we have, that's why I'm saying we've done that already. It's been done already. The school, the old administration building was a great building, but they sold it because it was old, right? So if we have all these buildings that we can sell, because we got Show Off, Smedley on the east side, that building was sold to Widener. That's a school. That's a school that was used for Biddy to play basketball in. When I was playing Biddy for Biddy to play back, I only played one game for Biddy. But anyway, we've had resources and we've sold them to other people who don't use it. Right? And it's like, Widener, when she bought that, they should have tore that building back. No, this is a high school for y'all. Here, y'all can take this school. This is a grade school for y'all. Y'all can take this school. Here, because y'all need this, because y'all need to build yourselves back up.
I mean, well, those are conversations too. So that means that the right conversation is not being had, because we have partnerships with Widener and Westchester, but I don't feel like we have the right partnerships with them. Because the partnerships are more so aligned to, the students going there or becoming. But every student don't want to go into Widener or Westchester. Right. So if you have a resource like Widener and you do need a new building, right, that's an ask. That's a partnership to me.
11th and 12th graders go to this building over here. 9th and 10th graders go to this building over here. Let's build up these other high schools. Let's get this grade school fixed up. Let's get the junior high school fixed up. And then we can bring the students back, because that's all it's about. Literally, you're dealing with people that just like Louis and Gucci. They want new things. Everything needs to pop. I'm not going to send my kid into no school with no mold in the corner and asbestos and everything else, right? If we don't build up our community, if we don't educate our children, we're failing them, period, point blank. Why now?
Because I'm getting tired. And because my older 3 children, Ali graduates this year from STEM. So I had Elijah and then Alasia, and now Ali is graduating from STEM. And so all I have left is Aliyah and Mr. Chunks. And so I feel like I have more breathing space right now to actually dedicate to being on the board, because there's no way that I could completely dedicate a internal and external change with putting children through high school. Right. That was not going to happen effectively. But now that I won't have the weight of them on my shoulder, I feel like I can do a little, it frees up a little bit more time for me to be able to be active internally.
Absolutely.
So that's the why now.
I want to thank you for stopping through.
Thank you.
But I want you to give your spiel to them as to why they should vote for you, why they should come out. And the election day is tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Right?
Yes.
All of this silly season, all this running and fussing and yelling and screaming and hollering and pointing and yelling and all of this, hopefully it's over tomorrow.
Yes.
But the way I'm feeling right now, I don't think it is.
Yeah.
Because I think it might be some more people out there that might want to try to come in and do
as
it
independent.
as independents.
It might be, yes.
And and that itself is scary. You know what I mean? Because it's like, we went through all this only to go through all this again.
Yes, and then that's even longer, because then you got all the way to November. I'm tired
We got to deal with this all the way to November.
Yes.
Right? And this is what happens when you don't include people. This is what happens when you don't build with people. This is what happens when you don't use a person for the skills that they possess. Yeah. They end up saying, I'm going to do it on my own. And they get that attitude and they stop working together. And if we're not working together in this community, then we're not growing together. And if we're not growing together, we're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
And if we're not going anywhere, we're stuck right here. And we can't stay stuck right here.
We cannot.
We have to move.
It's exhausting being stuck. Being stuck is exhausting.
It is, absolutely.
Especially when everything around you is moving forward.
Everybody else moving at Mach speed and we sitting there at turtle speed and wondering why everything's so slow and why everything's tore up. But go ahead. You got 5 minutes.
Oh, okay. I don't need the whole 5 minutes. My thing is this. When you go to vote tomorrow for whoever you're voting for, mayor, city council, school board, judge, don't just do it for yourself, right? Do it for the entirety of the community. Because even though you may reap the benefit, of a certain candidate being in office, what good is it to you to be the only one when your neighbor or your family member, doesn't reap the same reward, right? It creates more division. It makes us look bad in the public view. I'm so tired of Chester looking bad outside. Like my mama used to say, don't let what go on inside your house spill outside for other people to see. And right now I just feel like everybody see Chester's inside of our house, and it's just so I don't have a word to describe. Yes, our house look a mess. Messy. And it would be one thing if only we knew our house was messy, but it's like all of the world knows that our house is messy. For our school board, like I said, I know every parent does not have the capacity to show up all the time. I know that you can't be everywhere, but whatever you can't do, vote for people who can do it. I'm willing to be that extension of the parent. I can't be an extension of every single parent, but I will attempt to be an extension for as many parents as I can be, to be a voice for you when I'm inside of those rooms, to be as transparent as I can be within, my oath that I take as an officer of the school board. And I just want to do the right thing. I want to make the babies feel, because our children have so much pride about where they are. It's us. Like, we are the barrier to them being the greatest that they can be. So let's just move out of the way, eagles to the side, and just get the work done for the babies. That's why I'm number 81. I'm right at the top. You cannot miss me. I don't know how I got to 81, but I thank Allah for that. Right. So I'm right there. 6 people are running for school board. There's 5 seats open, so you can vote for up to 5 people. So if you do choose all 5 votes, just make me one of them. If you don't choose all 5, make me the only one. But make me one, and you will not regret it. I can assure you that you will not regret it. So
I want to thank you for stopping through, for having this conversation. You don't get to have it too often, and I think I've done a disservice to my community by not having this conversation with a school board member earlier and pushing it a little bit more. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to get people that are involved with the school to come through the radio station and talk about the different things.
Yes.
Talk to the parents and get the parents to understand what they should be, how they should be engaging with the teachers, and how we can build our school district up, right? Our school district suffers from a lack of parental involvement. More than anything.
Yes.
That's it. Mm-hmm. The fact that the parents are not as involved as they should be. Our school district also suffers from a lack of parental money.
Yes.
Financial, so just coming together and building things together, it takes...
And parental mental capacity.
Right.
Don't bring the parents in for something that's not worth their time,
Right.
because it takes a lot to get dressed and be present.
Right.
So make sure when they're present, that is for a reason, and do not waste people's time.
That's why I don't get dressed. That's why you always see me in a sweatsuit. I don't get dressed up. I don't.
Yeah.
I don't want to go to no funerals. Mm-hmm. You feel me? And I don't want to get dressed up. Mm-hmm. And it's just for those reasons, right? I love my community. I love everybody in it. And I think there are special people that are guided towards serving. And I feel like that's you.
Thank you.
Right? So, I'm not pushing anybody. Mm-hmm. You feel me? But, I look forward to having you as a school board member.
Thank you.
And the things that you say you're going to do. And I hope I can trust you.
Well, I already did them. So here's the thing about the things that I say. I'm literally already doing them.
Right.
So I think that's what makes me different too, is that this is not just something that's listed on a piece of paper for me, that I've already did it.
Right.
Am doing it. Right. I just want to do it on a different capacity, like a different level. So it's not something that I'm hoping I can do. It's something I know that I can do because I've already done it, but I'm limited in how far I can take it right now as a civilian.
Well, I'm hoping you get the opportunity to take it as far as you wanted to go.
Yes.
Man, it's cmpradio.net. It's your boy, Uncle P. Man, listen, tomorrow's election day. It's important. My grandma used to tell me, do you know how many of your family members have died so you can vote? Do you know how many of your family members have been beaten so that you can vote? Do you have any idea of the pain that I had to go through so you could vote? That's what we got to think about. No, it's not the same, right? And people, if you choose not to vote, you choose not to vote. You think somebody's still in power, but that's how they whisper into our community some bull. You believe it, and pass it on to the next person, then the message gets worse. You ever play that game where you tell somebody something, by the time it gets to the other end, it's completely different. It's a completely different narrative. I said Mike went to the store with his girlfriend. By the time it gets to the end, is Mike beat his girlfriend up, killed the kids, and shot the dog. So people can add their own narrative, their own spin to whatever. We are strong enough to understand that we don't need to hear the bull, but we do need to vote for the people that are going to change our community. cmpradio.net does not endorse any sponsor or sponsor any candidate. But we do allow people to sponsor on the radio station. That's just to give you a voice so you can read and you can see and you can see everything that they have to offer. We're not standing behind anybody. We're not pushing anybody. But we are pushing you, the viewing public, to make your voice heard, to go out tomorrow and vote. Vote in record numbers. Primary is important. Stand up for who you want to vote for. Don't sit down. Now is not the time. It's cmpradio.net. It's your boy, Uncle P. I want to thank Miss Tasliym Morales for stopping through. Thank you very much. No problem. You like a little girl over there. You all nervous. But no, honestly, man, go out and vote tomorrow, please. What'd she say, 81?
Number 81, right at the top.
So if you like what she had to say and you feel like she will make a good fit to the school board, even if you feel like, no, it's not going to be a good fit, it might be a good disruptor. However you feel, make sure you go out and vote tomorrow, man. It's cmpradio.net. It's your boy, Uncle P, and I'm out of here. Peace.
Peace.